They were great, weren't they? It's good to see you. Oh, I can see you all so clearly now with my contact lenses. Amazing. Amazing invention. Amazing. Now, it's great to have you here at our end of semester celebration at FestofKAA, a theatre group that has been with us for a few years now and is just going from strength to strength. Let me introduce myself. My name is Peter, and I am a sophisticated Australian. You may ask, what is a sophisticated Australian? And what is a sophisticated Australian? Does anyone know? A New Zealander, yes! Maybe some applause for that statement. Being a New Zealander is some achievement! Well, you know, I got born on an island on the other side of the world. There's only 5 million of us. And there's also only 5 million of you. I think we are special. Slovaks and Kiwis. Now, who of you travels by public transport? Or by train around this fine land? So you know those English language announcements for each stop? The next stop is exit for the Blue Church. Well, that's not me. But it is a New Zealand accent. That is the voice of my good mate Gavin. Or as we say in New Zealand, Gavin. Here's another New Zealander working here in Bratislava at Slovak Radio. And there are more of us teaching, working here. So when I think about it, really, the New Zealand accent is everywhere. After all, it's in the buses, it's on the trains, it's on the radio, and it's in your schools. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am an agent. And this is the New Zealand invasion. And soon you will all speak English just like me. I love the New Zealand accent, but what is it exactly? I mean, it clearly exists because when I talk to people, even other native speakers, they sometimes look at me in wonder and with a smile, and then they ask me to repeat what I just said. Now, while our accent may sound Australian, it isn't. I mean, you know, a Kiwi might say, for instance, oh shit, where's my wallet? And an Aussie will reply, aha, here's your wallet, before running off with it. You see, it's a totally different accent, yeah? And if anything, I would say Australian English is just an evil version of our accent. Now, if you want to speak with a Kiwi accent, which is highly advisable in my classes, it's pretty simple. It's mostly about the vowels. So basically, the A sound becomes an E. The E becomes an I, and the I becomes a U. So what does it sound like in a real situation? Well, let's say you're flying somewhere, which, to be honest, if you're in New Zealand and you want to leave, is a necessity. Well, what do you do? Well, first of all, you have to pick your bags, take a taxi to the airport, find the chicken desk, before you get on the plane. Maybe you'll take a plane to Melbourne, Sydney, or Brisbane on your way to lovely Bratislava, which, by the way, has lovely bridges. Bratislava has lovely bridges. You know, the SNP bridge, the study bridge, novel study bridge. You've got lovely bridges. Yeah, guys, I know. It's not the funniest or the sexiest accent out there, but it could be worse. I mean, after all, I could have an Australian accent, or even worse, a South African one. Anyway, now that you know the basics of New Zealand English, you can understand me. So let me outline the wonderful program in store this evening. The program you will have on your seats a red slip of paper. We will have, following myself, we will have the play itself, The Hollow, and then there will be an after party with DJ Letom Svetom. You know, the first time I came to Slovakia, the DJs were called DJ Robo, DJ Risho, DJ Macho, and the Dedinska Zabava. This looks like a level up. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, please note I have a couple of important things to say. There will be a 15-minute break between the acts of the play which you're about to see. Also, during that pause, there will be a competition for drinks at the bar. Yeah, you want that, yeah? Yeah, well, what you need to do in order to take part in the competition for the drinks is, during the break, use your mobile phones and log into the Slido platform and take part in a survey. The information will be provided to you during the break here on this stage. Don't miss out, because you've got to be in it to win it. Pretty exciting stuff. A few house rules, if I may. Smoking is strictly prohibited in the building, even though there will be actors here smoking during the play. Okay? Anyway, at any rate, I'm sure your parents told you many times that smoking is bad. Fajčenie škodí zdraviu. So don't smoke. Please turn off your mobile phones or put them on silent mode. And now, I think, yes? We're having a bit of dancing with Adjo. Anyway. And now, let's get ready for the main event. Let us welcome on stage, let's really encourage them, some wonderful, wonderful people that I have had a great privilege to know and learn from. Indeed, tonight, here at the Babylon Theatre, Bratislava, capital city of the Slovak Republic, in Europe, the world, you are going to witness the best student theatre and loveliest group of people on either side of the Danube River. Ladies and gentlemen, performing The Hollow by Agatha Christie, this is FestofKAA.
Henry, I always thought you to have models for this sort of thing.
It's an abstract piece I'm modeling, darling.
What? Like that?
Anything interesting in the Times, Henry?
Lots of people that... You've got clay on your nose.
What?
Clay on your nose.
So I have.
Now it's all over your face.
Does it matter, darling?
Oh dear! Oh dear! If it isn't one thing, it's another. Did I leave a mole trap in here? Ah, yes. There it is. The worst of moles is you never know where they are going to pop up next. People are quite right when they say that nature in the wild is seldom wrong. Don't you think I'm right, Henry?
Well, I couldn't say, my dear, unless I know what you're talking about.
I'm going to pursue them quite ruthlessly. I really am!
What did Lucy say?
Oh, nothing much. Just being Lucy-ish. Well, I say it's 6:30.
I have to stop and clean myself up. They're all coming by car, I suppose.
All except Mitch. She's coming by Green Line bus. And she ought to be here by now.
Oh, darling Mitch. She's nice. Heaps nicer than any of us. Don't you think I'm right, Henry?
I must have notice of that question.
Well, less eccentric anyway. There's something very sane about Mitch.
I am perfectly sane, thank you.
Perhaps you are.
As sane as anyone can be that has to live with Lucy. Bless her heart. You know, Henrietta, I'm getting worried about Lucy.
Lucy? Why?
Lucy doesn't realize there are certain things she can't do.
What do you mean, Henry?
No, she's always got away with things. I don't suppose any other woman in the world could have flouted the traditions of the government house as she did. Most governors' wives have to toe the line of convention. But Lucy? No. Mary hell no. She played Mary hell with precedents at dinner parties. And that, my dear Henrietta, is the blackest of crimes. She put deadly enemies one next to another, and instead of setting everyone at loggerheads, I'm damned if she didn't get away with it. Ah, thank you. No, it's the trick of hers. Always smiling, looking so charming and helpless. Servants are the same. She gives them any amount of trouble and basically adore her.
Now I know what you mean, Henry. Things you wouldn't stand from anyone else, they are quite alright if Lucy does them. What is it? Charm? Hypnotism?
I don't know. She's always been the same from a girl. But you know, it's growing on her. Lucy doesn't realize there are limits. I really believe she would feel she could get away with murder.
Oh, come on, Henry. One thing I know for sure. You and Lucy are angels letting me make my messes here. Treading clay into your carpet. You know, Henry, when I had that fire in my studio, I thought it was the end of everything. But then it was so sweet of you to let me move in on you.
wife, Henrietta. We're proud of you. I've just been reading a whole article about you and your work in the Times.
Times? Where?
There, top of the page, I believe.
Most significant piece of the year. Oh, what God. I must go and wash. Hello, Cousin Henry.
Meet! Hello! How are you?
Terribly well, thank you.
Not been overworking in the damn dress shop of yours?
Business is pretty slack at the moment, or I wouldn't have got the weekend off. Bus was so crowded, I've never known it go so slowly. But it's heaven to finally be here. Who's coming this weekend?
Nobody much. The Christos, you know them, of course.
The Harley Street doctor with a rather dim wife.
Oh, yes. Edward, of course.
Edward?
Quite a job to get Edward away from Ainswick these days.
Oh, Ainswick. Lovely, lovely Ainswick.
It's a beautiful place.
Oh, it's the most beautiful place in the world.
Had some happy times there,
All the happy times I've ever had were there.
Would you believe it? They have been at it again. They have pushed up a whole row of lovely little lobelies. Oh, well, as long as they
Here's Mitch.
There. Oh, Mitch, darling. I didn't see you, dear. Hello. Oh, didn't see you, but that would help, wouldn't it? And what were you both doing when I came in?
Talking Ainswick.
Ainswick.
It's all right.
Now, why did you bring that in here, darling?
I can't begin to think. Take it away. Thank you, darling. As I was saying, at any rate, the weather's all right. That's something. Because if a lot of discordant personalities are boxed up indoors. Where are you? Oh, there. It makes things 10 times worse.
Makes what worse?
One can play games, of course. But that would be like last year when I shall never forgive myself about poor Gerda. And the worst of it is that she really is so nice. It's odd that anyone as nice as Gerda should be so devoid of any kind of intelligence. If that is what they mean by the law of compensation, I don't think it's at all fair.
What are you talking about, Lucy?
This week or so. Oh, Mitch dear, it's such a relief to talk it over with you. You're so practical.
Oh, yes, but what are we talking over?
John, of course, is delightful with that dynamic personality that all really successful doctors seem to have. But as for Gerda, well, we must all be very, very calm.
Oh, come on now. Gerda Christo isn't as bad as all that.
Oh, darling, those eyes. Like a puzzled cow. And she never seems to understand the word one says to her.
Well, I don't suppose she understands a word you say, and I don't know that I blame her. Your mind goes so fast, Lucy, that to keep pace with it, your conversation has to take the most astonishing leaps, with all the connecting links left out.
Well, fortunately, Henrietta is here. She was wonderful last spring when we played limericks
peculiar start of conversation, Lucy.
Well, I suppose we must be rather trying. Oh, the poor dear looked so bewildered, when we played those limericks. And she didn't even know what the game was. And John was so impatient. It was then that I was grateful to Henrietta. She turned to Gerda and asked for a pattern of the knitted pullover Gerda was wearing. A dreadful affair in pig green with little baubles and pom-poms and things. Stop it! But Gerda, she brightened up at once and looked so pleased. The worst of it is, Henrietta had to buy some wool and knit one.
And? Was it very terrible?
Oh, it was ghastly. Well, no. On Henrietta, it looked quite charming. Which is what I mean when I say that world is so very, very sad.
Don't start rambling again, Lucy. Let's stick to the weekend. I don't see the difficulty. If you manage to keep around games, try to be coherent when you're talking to Gerda, and put Henrietta on a duty to tidy over the awkward moments, I don't see the worry.
It would all be perfectly all right. If only Edward were coming.
Edward? What on earth made you ask Edward for the weekend, Lucy?
I didn't ask him. He called to know if we could have him. You know how sensitive Edward is. If I had called back no, he would never have asked himself again. Edward's like that.
Yes, I know.
Dear Edward. If only Henrietta would make up her mind to marry him. She really is quite fond of him. If only they could have been alone this weekend without the Christos. As it is, John has the most unfortunate effect on Edward. John becomes so much more so, and Edward becomes so much more sad. If you know what I mean. But I do feel it's all going to be terribly difficult.
Mr. Edward.
Oh, Edward! We were just saying how nice it was of you to come.
Oh, Lucy, how nice of you to let me
darling.
come.
Oh, why? If it isn't little Mitch. Oh, you look very grown up.
Been grown up for quite a few years now, thank you.
I suppose you have. I just haven't noticed it.
No.
Time flies in ACDC. I still remember you as you were in the holidays, when Uncle Hugh was still alive.
Lucy, I wish you would come more often to Ainswick. It's looking beautiful just now.
Yes, darling. Beautiful Ainswick.
Excuse me, milady, but Mrs. Medway would like to see you in the kitchen. It's about the savory for dinner.
Chicken livers! Butchers have no conscience about chicken livers. Don't tell me they haven't arrived.
They have arrived, milady, but Mrs. Medway is with you.
Sometimes, I wonder whether Lucy minds very much about it.
In what way?
Well, it used to be her home. If she had been born a boy, it would have all gone to her instead of me. Now I wonder if she resents it.
Not in the sense you mean. After all, you're an Anketel. The Anketels stick together. They even marry their cousins.
Yes, but Lucy does care very much about Ainswick.
Lucy cares more about Ainswick than anything in the world. That picture up there is the dominating note of the house. But if you think Lucy resents you, you're wrong, Edward.
Sometimes,
I have a hard time understanding Lucy. She's got the most extraordinary charm.
Lucy is the most adorable creature I know. And the most maddening.
Hello, Edward.
Oh, Henrietta. Hello.
How are you? How was Ainswick?
It's looking beautiful just now.
Darling, how are you?
Good, thank you.
You ought to come, Henrietta.
Yes, I know. Can't we all have them as children?
Tradespeople are just like gardeners. When you want to make mass big clumps, they start fiddling about them. Now, what is that?
Well, it seems to me like a fish.
It is a fish. But where did I get it? How did I come by it?
I should think you got it off the kitchen table.
I remember. I thought a cushion this color would look quite nice here. What do you think about it?
No.
No? No. Well, it was just a little fault.
Excuse me, milady, but Mrs. Medway asked, may she have the fish? Thank you, milady.
He's wonderful. He always appears at the right moment.
Would I have a light, Mitch? Oh, actually, I haven't got one. Edward?
Wait a second, darling. And how's the sculpture, Henrietta?
Sculpture? Getting along. I finished a big wooden figure for the international group. Would you like to see it?
Yes.
Mitch, come in. Follow me.
It's called the Worshipper.
That is a powerful figure. Very beautiful grain. And what wood is it?
What?
That is an uncomfortable sort of thing, I must say.
It's horrible.
What are you saying, Mitch? That beautiful, heavy forward slant of the neck and shoulders, the submission and fanaticism of the face. And her eyes. Is she blind?
Yes, she is.
Now, and what is she looking at with her blind eyes?
I don't know. A god, I suppose.
Oh, Henrietta.
What did you say, Lucy?
Nothing.
Why did she say, poor Henrietta?
Because Lucy isn't blind.
Henrietta, shall we go for a walk? I would like to stretch my legs after the long drive.
Yes, I'd love to. I've been modeling most of the day. Come in, Mitch.
Oh, no, I'll stay here and help Lucy when the Christos arrive.
Is John Christo coming?
He is coming, yes.
Well, I wish I had known that.
Why?
I could have come some other weekend.
Have Henrietta and Edward gone for a walk?
Yes.
Does Edward know about the Christos?
Yes.
Was it all right?
Not noticeably.
Oh dear! I knew this weekend is going to be awkward!
Shall we go around the garden, Lucy? I'm such a hopeless company nowadays. What about the roses?
Yes. Handsome, in Mind you, I'm told earwigs are very good mothers. Not that it makes one like them any better.
Well, for the papers, Doris, the way I showed you.
Yes, Mr. Gudgeon. Her ladyship is dead, isn't she, Mr. Gudgeon?
Certainly not. Her ladyship has a very keen intellect. She speaks 5 foreign languages and has been all over the world with Sir Henry. Sir Henry was governor of one of the principal provinces in India. He would have been the next viceroy, most certainly, if it hadn't been for the terrible Labour government doing away with the empire.
My dad's a Labour. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Gudgeon.
You can't help your parents, Doris.
I know they're not class.
You are coming along quite nicely. Although, it's not what any of us have been used to. Gamekeeper's daughter, headroom's daughter, young girl who knows her manners and has been brought up right. That is what I like to train.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gudgeon.
Oh well, it seems those days are gone forever.
Mrs. Simmons is always down on me too.
She's doing it for your own good. She's training you, Doris.
Shan't get more money, shall I, when I'm trained?
Not much, I'm afraid.
Doesn't seem worth being trained then, does it?
Uh-oh! The trouble is, there are no proper employers nowadays. Nobody who knows what's what. Those who have the money to employ servants don't appreciate what a good servant is.
My dad says I ought to call myself domestic help.
That's about all you are. Let me tell you, my girl, you're very lucky to be in a household where wine glasses are used in the proper way. And the master and mistress appreciate highly technical skills. There aren't many employers left who would even notice if you went the wrong way around the table.
Well, I still think my ladyship does funny things. Picking up that fish now.
Her ladyship is somewhat forgetful, not to say absent-minded. But in this house, I see to it that everything possible is done to spare her ladyship trouble and annoyance. That will be Dr. and Mrs. Christo. Go upstairs and help Simmons with the unpack.
Yes, Mr. Gudgeon.
Uh-oh! Hey.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Oh, very well, sir. Thank you. Good evening, sir. Good evening, madam.
Good evening, Gudgeon.
Will you come through, madam?
Very warm still.
Still very warm, madam. Hope you had a pleasant drive down.
Yes, thank you.
I think her ladyship is in the garden. I will inform her that you arrived.
Thank you, gentlemen.
How wonderful to get out of the town into this.
Yes, it's very nice.
Oh, I hate being penned up in London. Sitting in that blasted consulting room, listening to whining women all the time. How I hate sick people.
Oh, John, you can't mean that.
I do. I loathe them.
But if you hated sick people, you wouldn't be a doctor, would you, dear?
A man doesn't become a doctor because he has a partiality for sick people. It's a disease that interesting, not the patient. You have odd ideas here.
John, you work too hard. You're so unselfish. I'm always telling the children how a doctor's life is almost a dedication. I I'm so proud of the way you give all your time and all your energy and never spare yourself.
Oh, heaven's sake, good. You don't know in the least what you're talking about. Don't you realize I enjoy my profession? It's damned interesting and I make a lot of money.
But it's not the money you do it for, dear. Just look how interested you are in your hospital work. It's to relieve pain and suffering.
Pain is a biological necessity and suffering will always be with us. It's the techniques of medicine that interest me.
And people suffering.
God's sake! I'm sorry, Gerda. Didn't mean to shout at you. I'm afraid I've been terribly nervy and bad-tempered lately. I'm sorry.
It's quite alright, dear. I understand.
You know, Gerda, if you weren't so patient and so long-suffering, it would all be better. Why don't you turn on me sometimes? Swear at me, give as good as you get. Don't look so shocked, darling. No man likes being drowned in dirt.
John, you work too hard.
I suppose I
You need a holiday.
guess I do. I'd like to go to South France and to the Mediterranean to see the sea again and to smell the mousse.
Well, why should we go then? Oh, I don't quite know how we should manage about the children. Of course, Michael is at school all day, but he's so rude to Mademoiselle. She really has very little authority, even though we're married. No, I don't think I should like it very much. Of course, they could go to Elsie at Bexhill, or perhaps Mary Folly would take them.
What were you saying?
The children?
What about them?
Well, I was wondering how we should manage about them if we went to the south of France.
Why should we go to the south of France? What on earth are you talking about?
Because you said you would like to.
I was just daydreaming.
I don't see why we shouldn't manage it. Of course, it's a little worrying if one feels that the person left in charge isn't really reliable, and I do sometimes feel that...
You never stop worrying about one thing or another. For heaven's sake, let's just relax and enjoy this weekend. At least you have a respite from domestic bothers.
Yes, I suppose you're right.
Wonderful people, these Ancatels. I always find them an absolute tonic. I wonder where they all are.
Will Henrietta be here?
Yes, she's here.
I'm so glad. I do like Henrietta.
Henrietta's all right.
I wonder if she's finished the statuette she was doing of me.
Don't know why she asked you to sit for her. Most extraordinary. I always think it's rather a good thing if people are around to meet their guests.
And this year I'm going to cut down that avenue of trees so that we have a better view of the lake.
Oh, I think it's rather a good idea, Edward. Yeah, really good idea. But, oh, isn't it good? Gerda, lovely to see you. How are you, darling? You know Edward, don't you?
How do you do, Mrs. Christo?
How do you do?
Where's John?
He just went out into the garden to see if he could find Lady Anketel.
It's impossible garden to find anyone in. All woods and shrubs.
But soon there'll be such lovely autumn tints.
Yes,
You will forgive me if I go and change.
of course. Autumn takes one back. And one keeps saying, don't you remember? Shall we go and look for the others together?
No, please. I mean, yes. That would be very nice.
Gerda. Gerda. Why do you come down here when you hate it so much?
But I don't.
Yes, you do.
I don't really. It's delightful to get down into the country, and Lady Anketel is always so kind.
Lucy! Kind. Lucy's not a bit kind. She has good manners and she knows how to be gracious. But I always think she's rather a cruel person. Perhaps because she isn't quite human. And you are hating it there, Gerda. You know you are.
Well, you see, John likes it.
John likes it. All right. But you could let him come by himself.
Oh, no. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't have enjoyed himself without me. But I'm glad you're here, though. Makes things so much better.
Does it? I'm glad.
You see, I don't really like being away from home. There's so much to do before you leave, and John is always so impatient. Even now, I'm not sure whether I turned the bathroom tops up properly, and there was a note I meant to leave for the laundry, and you know, Henrietta, I don't really trust the children's French governess. Whenever I'm not with them, they never seem to do anything she tells them. Oh well. It's only for 2 days.
2 days of hell. Cheerfully endured for John's sake.
You must think I'm very ungrateful. And everybody's so kind. I have breakfast brought up into my room, and the housemaids are beautifully trained. But I do sometimes feel that
I know. Terrible to have servants. Yeah. They snatch away one's clothes and put them when you can find them. And always lay out the dress and shoes you don't want to wear. One has to be strong-minded.
I'm afraid I'm never strong-minded.
You are. By the way, how's the knitting?
I've taken up lettercraft. I made this handbag.
Lovely. That reminds me, I've got something for you.
Henrietta! The statue you're doing of me. Oh, it's lovely. I like it so much.
I say, Sir Henry, your gardener has really made a wonderful job of this.
I think the soil here is pretty good for roses.
Hello, Henrietta.
Hello, John.
Oh, very nice to see you, Gerda.
How are you, Mrs. Christo?
You haven't been here for so long. You know my cousin, Mitali.
Oh yes, we met last year.
Yes. John, look what Henrietta's just given me.
What on earth made you do this?
John, it's very pretty.
Really, Henrietta?
Mrs. Christo, I must tell you about our latest excitement. You know the cottage at the end of the lane? It's been taken by a well-known film star, and all the locals are simply goggling.
Oh, yes, I bet they will be.
Is she very glamorous?
Well, I haven't seen her yet, but I believe she is in residence. And what's her name now?
Heidi Lamar?
No, what's the name of that girl with her hair over the eyes?
Veronica Lake?
No,
Lauren Bacall?
no.
Nosy mowa!
Well, we'd better ask Gudgeon. He'll know.
We saw in that movie the tough chap plays gangsters, and then they flew to the Pacific, then flew back again, and there was a particularly horrible child.
San Francisco Story?
Yes.
Veronica Craig.
John! My statuette!
I'm sorry, darling.
It's cracked!
I'm sorry.
Look, it's
I
cracked!
didn't mean to.
You
I
broke
can't do
it!
this.
You broke my statuette!
Come on, let's go see your room. Oh, it will be all right. Henrietta will
Broke it.
Simmons will help you unpack.
Shall I come with you? Where am I, Lucy? In the blue room?
Yes. And I have put Edward in the hermit. And the rest of the guests are, I suppose, in the other wards of the house, you know. It was terribly difficult for me to manage, but at last I did. I still did it.
Where's Edward, I wonder? Has he put his car away? There's room in the end garage.
Is there anything the matter, darling?
I'm sorry, I was thinking. Remembering, actually.
There's an atmosphere of remembering about this place. I've been remembering too.
Have you? Remembering what?
The time when I was a long-legged, lanky girl with untidy hair. A happy girl with no idea of the things that life could do to her. Going back.
Why? Why should one want to go back? All so suddenly. Why do things you haven't thought of for years suddenly spring into your mind?
What things, John?
Blue sea and smell of mimosa.
When?
10 years ago.
And you'd like to go back?
I don't know, I'm just so tired. What would I do without you?
Get along quite well, I expect.
Why do things come back to you? Things that are over and done with.
Perhaps because they are not really over and done with.
Not after 10 years. Heaven knows how long since I thought about it, but lately, even when I'm walking down the wards, it's coming back to me and it's as vivid as a picture. Now, on top of it all, she's here, just a few yards down the lane.
Veronica Cray, you mean?
Yes. I was engaged to her once. 10 years ago.
I see.
Crazy young. I was so mad about her. She was just starting in the pictures then. I had qualified about the year before. I had a wonderful chance to work under Radley. D.H. Radley, you know, the authority on the cortex of degeneration.
What happened?
What I might have guessed would happen. Veronica got her chance to go to Hollywood. Well, naturally, she took it.
But she assumed without making any bones about it that I'd give up everything and go with her. She had no idea how important my profession was to me. I can hear her now. Oh, there's no need for you to go on doctoring. I shall be making heaps of money. Tried to explain it all to her, you know. Radley, what a wonderful opportunity it was to work under him. Do you know what she said? What, that comic letter old man? I told her that the comic letter old man has done some of the most remarkable work of our generation. That his experiments might revolutionize the treatment of Rick's disease, but it was a waste of time. She never even heard of Rick's disease.
Very few people have heard of Rick's disease. I haven't till you told me and I read it all.
She said, who cared about a lot of obscure diseases anyway? California was a wonderful climate. It would be fun for me to see the world. She'd hate to go there without me. Miss Craig was a complete egoist. Never thought of anyone but herself.
You're rather by way of being an egoist too, John.
I saw her point of view, though. Why couldn't she see mine?
What did you suggest?
I told her I loved her. And I begged her to turn down the Hollywood offer and marry me there and then.
What did you say to that?
She was just amused.
And so?
And so, I did what had to be done. Break it off. I did. And it wasn't easy, but I did it. And all that was when we were back in the south of France. I broke with Veronica and got back to London to work under Radley.
And then you married Gerda.
The following year, yes.
Why?
Why?
Yes. Was it because you wanted someone as different as possible from Veronica Craig?
Yes, I suppose that was it. I didn't want a raving beauty as a wife. I didn't want a damned egoist out to grab everything she could get. No. No. I wanted peace and safety and devotion and all the quiet, enduring things of life. I simply wanted someone who would take her ideas from me.
You certainly got what you wanted. None could be more devoted to you than Gerda.
And that's the irony of it. I married Gerda just for the qualities she has, and now half the time I snap at her because of them. How was I to know how irritating devotion can be?
What about Gerda? Is she satisfied?
Yes, she's quite happy.
Is she?
Yes, she spends her days fussing about the house and the children. She's the most incompetent housekeeper and the most injudicious mother that you could possibly imagine. Still, it keeps her occupied, thank God.
How horribly cruel you are, John.
Me?
Do you ever see or feel anything except your own point of view? Why do you bring Gerda down there for weekends when you know it's misery for her?
Nonsense. Does her a world of good to get away. It makes a break for her.
Sometimes, John, I really hate you.
Henriette, darling, don't say that. You do know that it's only you who makes life possible for me, right?
I wonder.
Who is this Edward Uncatel?
Second cousin of mine, and of Henry's.
Have I met him?
You've met him twice.
I don't seem to remember. Is he in love with you, Henrietta?
Yes.
Well, you better watch your step. You're mine, remember. And look, what do you mean by doing that absurd statuette of Gerda? Hardly up to your standard, is it?
It's technically good craftsmanship. Straightforward portrait statuette, and it pleased Gerda.
Gerda.
It was meant to please her.
Gerda doesn't know the difference between a work of art and a colored photograph. What about your pyramid figure for the international group? Have you finished that?
Yes.
Well, then, let's have a look at it. I say it's a rather... What on earth? That's why you wanted Gerda to sit for you! How dare you!
I wondered if you would see it.
See it? Cause I see it!
The face isn't Gerda's.
No, it's the neck, it's the shoulders, the whole attitude!
Yes. That's what I wanted.
How could you do a thing like that? It's indefensible!
You don't understand, John. You don't know what is it to want something. To look at it day after day. The line on the neck. The muscle. And the heaviness under the jaw. I've been looking at them and wanting them. Every time I saw Gerda. And in the end, I just had to have them.
Utterly unscrupulous.
Yes, I suppose you could call it that.
That's a terrifying thing you made there, Henrietta. What is she looking at? Who is there? In front of her?
No, John, I think it might be you! That's Edward. You remember Edward, John?
Yes, of course.
Looking at Henrietta's lady's masterpiece?
Yes, yes I was.
What do you think of it?
I'm not really qualified to judge.
Powerful. You say it's powerful.
Yes, yes.
I must go and change.
Still lots of time. Can I get you another drink, Christo?
No, thank you.
Quite a mild evening.
You were very rude, John.
I have no time for that sort of person.
Edward is a dear.
Possibly. But I don't like him. I think he's quite ineffectual.
Sometimes, John, I'm afraid for you.
Afraid for me? What do you mean?
It's dangerous to be as oblivious as you are.
Oblivious?
Yes. I never see anything that people are feeling about you, I'm telling you.
Oh, I should have said the opposite.
You see what you're looking at. Yes. You're like a searchlight. Powerful beam turned on one spot when your interest is. But behind it, and each side of it, darkness.
Henry, darling, what is all this?
I tell you, it's dangerous. You presume that everyone likes you. Lucy, Gerda, Henry, Midge, and Edward. Do you know at all what they feel about you?
And Henrietta? What does she feel? At least, I can be quite sure about you, aren't I?
You can be sure of no one in this world, John.
Can I get you a drink?
Get me a drink, Edward, before I go.
Sherry,
Please.
I wish you would come to Ainswick more often, Henrietta. It's been a long time now.
I know, Edward. One gets tangled up in things.
Is that the real reason?
Not quite.
Well, you can tell me, Henrietta.
You are a dear, Edward. I'm very fond of you.
Why don't you come to Ainswick then?
Because one can't go back.
But you used to be so happy there, in the old days.
Yes. Happy in the loveliest way of all. One doesn't know one is happy.
To Ainswick.
Ainswick. Is it the same, Edward? Or has it changed? Because things do change.
I don't change.
No, darling Edward. You're always the same.
The same old stick in the mud.
No, don't say that.
Well, it's true. You know, I've never been very good at doing things.
You think perhaps you are wise enough not to do things.
That is an odd thing for you to say, Henrietta. You who have always been so successful.
Edward. Sculpture isn't a thing you set out to do and succeed in. It's something that gets at you and haunts you. So that, in the end, you just have to make terms with it. And then for a while, you get some peace.
And do you want to be peaceful?
Sometimes I think I want to be peaceful more than anything else in the world.
Well, you could be peaceful at Ainswick. Won't you come, Henrietta, and make it your home, even if that means that you would have to put up with me. It's always been there, you know, waiting for you.
Edward, I'm very fond of you. That makes it so much more difficult to go on saying no.
Is it no then?
I'm sorry.
You said no before. Just thought that this time it might be different. This afternoon when we were walking in the woods, your face seemed so young and so happy, like in the old days. Thinking about Ainswick, talking about Ainswick. Henrietta, don't you see what that means?
Edward, we've been living this afternoon in the past.
But past is sometimes a very good place to live in.
One can't go back, Edward. That's the one thing you can't do. Go back.
What you really mean to say is that you won't marry me because of John Christo. That's it, isn't it? If there were no John Christo in the world, you would marry me, Henrietta.
I can't imagine a world in which there was no John Christo.
Hurry up, Henrietta. It's nearly due time.
I'll be quick as a flash.
Have you got a drink, Edward?
Yes.
Haven't seen much of you since Lucy and I settled at the Hollow.
No. How does it affect you, Lord Henry? Laying aside the cares of the state?
You know, Edward, I sometimes think you've been the wisest of the family.
That is an original point of view. I've always regarded myself as a walking example of how to fail in life.
It's just a question of the right values. To look after one's history, and to read and care for one's roots. To always be. That is a pretty frog.
One of my perks from the shop.
Means you can't really like working in that shop.
Who said I liked it?
And why do you do it?
And what do you suggest I should live on? Beautiful thoughts?
My dear, if I had any idea you were harsh.
Save your breath, dear. She's obstinate, refused an allowance, and won't come and live with us. Though we begged her to. I can't think of anything nicer than having a young nice meet about the house.
Why don't you, Mitch?
I have ideas. Poor, proud, and prejudiced. That's me. They're badgering me, Lucy.
How are they, darling?
Well, I don't like the idea of her working in that shop.
Find me a better job then.
There surely must be something.
I have no particular qualification, remember, just a pleasant mind and the ability to keep my temper when I'm shouted at.
Do you mean that the customers are rude to you?
Abominably rude sometimes, but it's their privilege.
Oh my God, Mitch, if I had only known.
How could you know? Your world and mine are so far apart. You're an Anchortel, but I'm only half an Anchortel. The other half's just plain business girl with unemployment always lurking around the corner, despite politicians' brave words.
You be a good girl and drink that. What's rubbed your fur up the wrong way? Let's have a drink.
Sherry for me, dear. Edward does have that bet sometimes.
I'm so sorry if I'm late.
Oh, but you are not at all late, my dear.
We've only just come down.
What will you have, Mrs. Christo?
Oh,
Cherry gin?
gin and something.
Am I the last?
Henrietta isn't down yet.
What is that?
Do you know what happened last time you drank?
You must forgive me for bursting in upon you this way. I'm your neighbor, Lady Atherton, in a tiny cottage, Dovecotes. And a most awful thing has happened. Not a single match in the house, and no light to won't work. So what could I do? I came to beg help from the only neighbors within miles.
Why, of course, how very awkward for you.
Why, certainly it is. I just can't. John! Why, it's John Christo! Now isn't that amazing? I haven't seen you for years and years and years. And suddenly to find you here. Oh, this is the most wonderful surprise. John's an old friend of mine. Why, John is the first man I ever loved.
What will you have? Sherry, dry martini?
Oh, no, thank you.
Bitch, dear, print about.
I hope you don't think it is too awful of me butting in like this.
Oh, not at all.
Why, we're honored. My cousin, Miss High. This is Edward Anketel.
And this is my wife, Veronica.
Oh, but how lovely to meet you.
You rang, milady.
A dozen boxes of matches, please, Captain.
And how do you like living at Dovecotes?
I adore it. I think it's so wonderful to be right in the heart of the country. These lovely English woods. And yet, to be quite near London.
You have no idea what a thrill you've caused in the neighborhood. Of course, you must be used to that sort of thing.
Well, with your autograph books. But what I love about it here the most is to know when I feel in the village and there is no one to stare or gape. I just appreciate the peacefulness of the town. Valmetten. Oh, dear Lady Ankato, I can't possibly accept it.
Oh, please, it's nothing at all.
Well, I do appreciate your kindness. Now, John, do you live in his neighborhoods too?
Oh, no. I live in London. Just down here for the weekend.
I just can't get over meeting you again after all these years. So wonderful.
Yes. Okay.
Now, I must get back, carrying my spoils with me. John, will you see me down the lane?
Yes, of course.
Thank you all so much. You've all been very kind.
Not at all.
Now, John, you must tell me all you've been doing in the years and the years since I've seen you.
Dinner is served.
Oh, I mustn't take you away just as dinner is ready.
Well, won't you stay and dine with us?
Oh, no, I couldn't dream of it. John, can't you come over after dinner? I'm just dying to hear all your news. I'll be expecting you. Thank you all so much.
What a beautiful performance! Now, shall we go into dinner, please? I remember seeing that girl in a film. She was wearing a sari really low down.
Well, I remember her too, I just can't remember the name of the film.
It's San Francisco Story, it must be.
Which theater? Henry, have you ever seen San Francisco Story?
Yes, but she must have changed her hair. She is flowing now. What do you think of our new film star?
Yes, she's very nice.
She is, isn't she, Henry?
Well, yes, not as tall as I should have thought seeing her on the film.
Well, they are different in real life.